Welcome back to the Lost Connections podcast. I'm your host, Curtis. We don't have any co-hosts today, but we do have a co-host as an interviewee. So, special guest Gabe. You've seen him in a bunch of episodes, in the last one as well. And yeah, we're gonna get to know a little bit about Gabe, and what he's doing for Connect Fest, his installation, and everything else. So let's get into it. Gabe. Introduce yourself.
Yes.
Tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Gabe. If you don't know me just from this, I'm also your current vice president of student council, next year's president.
Subtle plug.
Subtle plug. And I'd just like to say that if Curtis compliments me multiple times during this, it's not scripted. He just likes me a lot.
All right. So, let's get into how you got into the MTA program and why you came to St. Pat's.
Yeah. So interesting story. From up until like grade 7, I was always like, okay, I'm going to Newman. But then my interest just started to shift. I started getting into like just the type of work that my uncles get into, or that do, like they're all graphic designers.
Mhm.
And then Miss Kirat and Miss Staccato. Oh no, it was Miss Casala and Miss Staccato
Mhm.
that came to my school. Just talking about the MTA program. I'm like, yo, this is so interesting. I'm gonna go for it, and that's what I did. And through that, like it's just been a big journey for me. Like I went from like just learning how to use Photoshop, and now I'm doing work outside of school, related to graphic design, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, so you came to Pat's, and grade 9 year, we dropped into MTA class,
Mm-hmm.
and did a lot of Photoshop work and stuff like that. What was some of your favorite points in that year?
Oh no! You know my favorite assignment was. I need to look for the file. Hopefully we can put this in the episode. It's the one where you make hybrid animals.
Oh yeah.
I made a bull with wings, like the Red Bull,
Like the Red Bull, yeah,
like
yeah.
the Red Bull. They told me to add an eagle head. I didn't want to, so I just added the wings. It's just like, yeah, Red Bull gives you wings. That was the joke. That was my favorite assignment from grade 9.
And then grade 10, we were kind of off the boat a little bit. We weren't in school full time. But grade 11 this year, what kind of projects were your favorite from this year?
From what we've done so far.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, I like working on a logo. Unfortunately, mine wasn't selected.
Mhm.
Shout out to Josh. His is pretty sick. Personally, I like mine more, but I think I'm a little biased.
Yeah. For sure.
I don't know. It was a lot of fun because I learned a few tricks with Illustrator, because I've never really worked with Illustrator other than that point. And yeah, it turned out really good, even though I didn't get selected.
And so you said you do a lot of kind of graphic design work outside of school now. Kind of let people into how your creative brain works, like how you get from A to B.
Yeah. It really depends on what I'm working on, because I work with like merch. I also work with like post, like I'm after school I'm about to meet up with a client right now to work on a flyer, which is pretty sick. And a lot of it so my favorite part about graphic design is the typography aspect. So the first thing I always look for is a good font that like sort of has the feel of what I'm going for. Like say we do like I've done sweaters before, and the first thing you look to is a collegiate font, and then you'd like put it in a curve, because that's what you think about when you think of like any type of council, any type of university. That's the type of thing that you think of, right? Collegiate fonts, something bold. So a lot of it is just like feeling out what your end goal is, and adding your own spice to it. Like that's literally what I do with everything. It's just like, okay, especially with our assignments, our overlords will be like, okay, do this, and then I'll do it, and then I'll add a little more because it's just to give it more personality. I feel good to describe it.
All right, so we're gonna pause here while Cooper closes the door. All right, so let's get into your installation, Gabe.
sure.
What are you doing for Connect Fest? Like, how are you gonna create an experience for the people?
Okay, so I was fortunate enough to be approached by our overlord, um, to and she proposed sort of my idea as we're going to make these things that I'm working on the mascot. So the whole idea behind my installation is basically like an outsider looking in toward Filipino culture, because that's like that to me. Like I was born here, so um, my knowledge of the Philippines and Filipino culture is based on what my family has told me. Usually at like the dinner table. So the whole concept is there's two aspects to this. So there's the Dwende, and then the dining table where you're learning about them. So throughout the school, there's gonna be these little figures that are taking things from other installations, and these things are called Dwende, or like a dwarf in English.
Kind of like a elf on a shelf kind of thing, right?
Yeah, they're like really mischievous, and they whenever you're missing something in your house, you blame it on the Dwende.
Yeah.
It's that's sort of the idea, and these things are gonna be the mascot for Connect Fest, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm constructing them myself, with canvas and stuff like that, so that's pretty cool. And the second aspect of the installation is the dining table, because that's where I learned about these duende. That's where I've heard stories about them, like one apparently threw a rock at my uncle's head, which you don't hear about. You don't hear about on the media, especially. Is working right? Okay. Um, especially especially because we're in the Western world, we don't hear about like the wars, like throwing rocks at you. Um, so I just found that really interesting, and that way I wanted to connect with uh students and connect with people that feel disconnected from their culture, uh, represented by my my vision of what I think Filipino culture is. So when you're sitting at the dining table, you're listening to these tracks about these stories about duende and people's experiences with them, and there's always names to faces. So like I'm gonna get my mom to talk about it, and you're gonna see a picture of my mom there, and like you're just gonna learn while enjoying dinner. So the whole idea is that you're at the dinner table, right? So I'm gonna have a representation. It's not gonna be real food. It's gonna be like made of fabric. It's gonna be a representation of a boodle fight, which is a traditional festive meal that you have um, during a lot of things, like during some people's birthdays, during Christmas, just stuff like that. And it's like a big spread. It's really interesting. You guys should look. Actually, you should probably have it with me one time. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, let's pause for a sec. I can't think of anything. Okay, Gabe. So you've told us a little bit about how your installation is going down, and what the audience is going to experience. So like, tell us about who's coming along with you, who's helping you prepare this.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to have the lovely Ash and Zeno work with me. And they're mostly working on the animation part of it, which we can get into later. But yeah, those two are working with me. They're an amazing bunch. They're great animators. And we literally just finished the mock up for the drawn version of the Duende, which I'm really excited for. I hope you guys are excited too. Yeah.
And so you mentioned animation. Is that going to be like displayed at because it's the mascot? Is that going to be displayed like the entrance of when people come in?
Yeah, hopefully we can get them on TV, but mostly I want people to see the actual Duende when they're at the event.
Mhm.
I feel like the animated versions will be more for like story posts,
Yeah.
TikTok, maybe some on the website. They're just like little gifs, or
Yeah.
is it gifs or gifs?
It's age old question, as our producer says. But yeah, so it's the like get into like the lore of the Duende. Where does it come from? I know you said Filipino culture and like
Yeah.
people blame stuff on them.
Mhm.
Where else does it come from?
Yeah, so something I learned about a lot from my family, from my mom in specific. We talked a lot about Filipino mythology, and like this is like pre-colonization, before like I'd have a Spanish last name. Um, and a lot of it is like there's a lot of mythical creatures, and something that I noticed is that Filipino mythology is really scary. Like all of them are like bad monsters. There's like I can't remember what it's called, but there's one that like eats fetuses. It's really scary. Like they climb on ceilings and stuff. It's and basically the Duende are just like the middle ground. They're very mischievous. Uh, they're like, I don't know what the best way to describe it, but they're just like sort of an inconvenience at most. Um, at least they're like, I know my mom has, there's a certain story that she told me about ones that were helping out my great grandmother at one point. Like she'd wake up and then there'd be food on the table, and then she'd see like small little feet. What's that's because everything is dusty. So yeah, just stories like that is what I want to display. And the Duende are just like little dwarves that like to take things from people.
Cool. So yeah, we're almost at the end here.
Mhm.
But anything else you have to say? I mean, you kind of talk to the people when you're hosting with me, but what anything else you want to let them know before they come see it live?
Yes. Definitely have an open mind. The way that I set it up is that it's very subliminal. So the Duende don't have faces. So I'm literally gonna base their personality off of the little hat that they're wearing and the stories that they're given. So your perception, I want your perception to be what people told you or what's being told to you, because that's how I learn about them. That's what I want my installation to be. I want it to be um I want you to understand it the way I understood it, just uh through word of mouth. Like how everything used to be before like writing, before and the internet. I want you to I want you just to be immersed in what you're being told and what you perceive based on what you're being told. So yeah.
All right. Well, Gabe, it was such a pleasure having you on. We'll see you again when you come back and host.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. And yeah, don't lose connection. Peace.
Peace.